Before you scroll, pause for a second, because this isn't just another video you randomly found. Something in you brought you here. Not curiosity, not chance, something deeper. And if you're willing to listen closely, this might be the moment that finally makes sense of everything you've been quietly carrying. Welcome to Inner Shadow, a space where we explore the deeper truths behind your emotions, growth, and the unseen forces guiding your life. Today, we're diving into what it really means when something finds you at exactly the moment you need it. Before we go any further, there's something I need you to truly take in. You didn't just come across this video by accident. This video came to you. I know that might sound like one of those things people say, but pause for a second and really consider it. There's a difference between randomly finding something and being quietly guided toward it. And what's happening right now, you sitting here watching this, isn't random. It's not just chance, and it's not just an algorithm. It's something much more intentional than that. Deep down, beneath the noise of your day, you already felt it. When you saw the title, something inside you responded. It wasn't exactly curiosity, it was softer but heavier at the same time. It felt like recognition. Like reading the opening line of something you once wrote and somehow forgot. Lately, you've been carrying something. Not the kind of weight people can see. Not the kind that invites sympathy or explanation. This is quieter. It sits just beneath the surface, constant and familiar. So familiar, in fact, that you've almost stopped noticing it. But it shows up in certain moments, early in the morning or in those brief pauses when everything goes still and there are no distractions left. Just you and the truth of where you are. You feel it when someone asks how you're doing and you say, "I'm fine," even though you know it's more complicated than that. And if you're honest, really honest, the truth you haven't said out loud is this: you're tired. Not broken, not weak, not falling apart, just tired. There's a real difference between those things, and it matters. Because the story you've been telling yourself about this exhaustion isn't the full picture, not even close. You've been putting in the effort. Maybe not perfectly. Maybe with missteps, setbacks, or moments where old feelings came rushing back when you thought you'd move past them. But you've still been doing the work. You've been choosing yourself in ways no one notices. The message you decided not to send, the morning you got out of bed when staying there felt easier. The nights you faced uncomfortable emotions instead of escaping them, without numbing yourself, without reaching for distractions. You kept going, even when it felt slow, heavy, and invisible to everyone around you. That's not insignificant. That's everything. And the part of you that feels drained right now, that's not the part of you that's failing. It's the part that's been holding more than it should have for far too long. And even if it hasn't felt like it, that effort hasn't gone unseen. Welcome to Inner Shadow. I'm here with you, and today I want to talk about what it really means when something like this finds you. Not the surface level explanation, the kind that sounds nice but doesn't go very deep. I mean the real meaning, the one that thinkers like Carl Jung spent years trying to express in a way the rational mind could accept. Jung understood something most people spend their lives avoiding. He saw that your inner world, your psyche, is not passive. It's not just a place where memories and old emotions are stored. It's alive, it's active, and it's constantly moving you toward wholeness with a quiet precision that doesn't ask for permission and doesn't wait until you feel ready. When you reach a point of genuine readiness, not surface level readiness, but the kind that comes after struggle, after loss, after something in you has been cracked open and you chose to grow instead of close off, that's when something shifts. Your inner world begins to organize things in ways you can't always explain. It starts arranging moments, encounters, and insights that guide you forward. The logical mind might call it coincidence because that's easier to accept. But the alternative is more confronting, that you're being guided, that the life you're trying to reach is also reaching back toward you. So let me ask you something, and don't rush your answer, just sit with it. What have you been trying to figure out on your own? Because there's something very specific happening here. There's a version of your life you've been quietly holding on to. Not obsessively, not desperately, just carefully, like something fragile that matters to you. A version where unresolved things finally find clarity. Where something unfinished between you and another person, or between you and your future, finally settles into place. You haven't fully let go of that vision, But if you're honest, there are moments where you question it. Moments where you wonder if holding on to that hope makes you naive. If what you've been protecting inside yourself is wisdom or just fear in disguise. And that question, that exact tension, is why this message reached you today. Because the truth isn't as simple as calling it wise or foolish. It's something more nuanced than either of those labels. What you're experiencing is discernment in progress. You're learning to tell the difference between hope that supports you and attachment that drains you. And that's one of the most important lessons you can go through. But it doesn't come neatly. It doesn't arrive all at once. It unfolds in layers through confusion, setbacks, and small breakthroughs that are sometimes too fragile to fully trust. Right now, you're in the middle of that process. And from the inside, it doesn't feel like growth. It feels like being stuck. Like standing in a doorway where you can't go back to who you were, but you also can't fully step into what's next. The past is familiar even if it hurt. The future feels uncertain even if it holds everything you want. And the space in between, that's the hardest place to be. But you're still there, showing up every day even when it's exhausting, even when no one sees it. Jung described this as the transcendent function, a process where opposing forces inside you begin to come together, not by one overpowering the other, but by creating something entirely new, something that couldn't exist without that tension. And this process doesn't follow your timeline. It doesn't happen just because you feel ready or because everything finally makes sense. It happens when enough of the old has broken down to make space for something new. That breakdown, that dissolving, is what feels like stagnation. But it isn't. The pressure you're feeling right now isn't the end of something. It's the beginning of something forming. You're not stuck. You're in the middle of becoming, and becoming is deeply disorienting. Because you're no longer who you used to be, but you're not fully who you're becoming either. Most days, you're navigating that space without clarity or direction. But that in-between space, it's not a mistake. It's not a sign you failed or fallen behind. It's the work itself. From the outside, it might look like nothing is happening. You're functioning, showing up, responding, playing your part, but internally something profound is shifting. You're reevaluating what you deserve, what love means to you, what you're willing to accept, and what you're no longer willing to carry. That quiet transformation is sacred. And yes, there's someone else connected to this story, someone who still lives in a certain space inside you. You don't think about them constantly, but they show up unexpectedly. In music, in certain moments, in small details that bring them back. They're part of this. Not the center of it, you are, but they matter in this process. And understanding their place in your journey might not be easy, especially if the pain is still close to the surface. When the quiet between you still feels sharp, like something unresolved lingering in the air. They are going through something of their own right now, a process they didn't consciously choose and can't fully understand from where they stand. And they don't have the language yet to explain what's happening inside them. Beneath whatever version of life they're showing the world, there's a deeper confrontation unfolding. It's the realization of the distance between who they've been and who they would have to become to live honestly. That kind of gap doesn't close easily. It can't be fixed by distraction, by staying busy, or by simply deciding to feel differently. It closes through confrontation, with truth, with self, with everything that's been avoided. And that confrontation has a face. In many ways, that face is yours. Not because you're meant to save them. Not because your healing depends on theirs. And definitely not because you're supposed to wait for them to figure themselves out before you move forward. None of that. But because, during a time in their life when so much was performance, control, and emotional distance, you were real. What you brought into their life wasn't surface level. It had depth, it had presence, it had sincerity. And that doesn't just disappear because the connection ended. It goes quiet. It goes beneath the surface. But things that go beneath the surface don't vanish. They grow. They move. They find their way toward the light whether it's acknowledged or not. Let me be very clear about something, though. I am not telling you to wait for them. It's easy to twist messages like this into permission to pause your life, but that's not what this is. What matters more than waiting or not waiting is who you are becoming. The version of you that is taking shape right now through the discomfort, through the uncertainty, through the quiet effort that nobody sees, that version of you is not in conflict with love. She is the foundation for it. Real love, the kind that doesn't ask you to shrink yourself. The kind that doesn't make you second-guess your worth or constantly adjust who you are to be accepted. The kind that doesn't require you to hold your breath just to keep it. That kind of love only meets you when you're standing fully in your truth. When you're no longer performing, no longer filtering yourself, no longer relying on someone else to confirm your value. And whether it feels like it or not, you are closer to that version of yourself than you've ever been. In fact, the reason it feels so uncertain right now is often because you're right on the edge of something shifting. Moments before real change rarely feel like progress. They feel like stillness, like nothing is moving, like everything has gone quiet. This is something Carl Jung spoke about often. He observed that the most meaningful transformations in a person's life usually don't announce themselves. They are preceded by tension, by a phase that feels like confusion, regression, or even failure. But that tension isn't failure. It's pressure. The kind of pressure that prepares something new to emerge. Think of it this way. A cocoon doesn't feel like transformation while you're inside it. It feels restrictive. It feels like being stuck. But that's where the change is actually happening. And that's where you are. You're not falling apart. You're under the kind of pressure that comes right before something breaks open in the best way. Everything you've been experiencing, every moment of doubt, every quiet effort, every internal shift has been building towards something. Even if you can't fully see it yet, it's been working beneath the surface this entire time. Trust that. Trust that the small choices you made when no one was watching mattered. The moments you chose growth over comfort, the times you showed up for yourself without applause or recognition. None of that was wasted. Now, about the person who's still on your mind. There's something important to understand here, and it needs to be said carefully. Your absence is affecting them. Not in some dramatic, obvious way they'd easily admit, but in the subtle, internal way real change happens. The version of you that lives in their memory isn't frozen. It evolves alongside them. It challenges them. It becomes a quiet presence in their awareness, one that doesn't need to say anything to ask a powerful question. Who are you really choosing to be? Are you living your truth or just the version of life that once felt safest? Those are difficult questions, and no one willingly seeks them out. They show up when something real has been encountered, and you were that reality for them. But here's the part that matters most for you. Your healing cannot depend on their timeline. Your growth cannot be paused while someone else figures themselves out. That's not just advice, it's a fundamental truth. The version of you that is trying to emerge, the grounded, whole, self-led version, needs your full attention. It cannot fully come to life if it's still waiting for someone else to catch up. You are not meant to be a supporting role in someone else's story. You are the center of your own, and something powerful happens when you step fully into that role. You don't become closed off to love, you become aligned with it. You become someone the right kind of connection can actually reach. Healing doesn't make you harder to love, it makes you easier to find. There is a version of your life where everything you've been working toward comes together in a way you can't yet see. Not because it's guaranteed, but because you've been doing the kind of inner work that leads to those outcomes. Life tends to respond to people who choose authenticity, to those who stop performing and start living honestly, to those who stay connected to what they truly want, even when there's no clear evidence yet. Now, I want to speak to a quieter part of you. Not the strong part. That part has carried you this far and will keep going. I'm talking about the part that feels uncertain. The one that shows up late at night in those quiet hours asking whether you gave too much, waited too long, or hoped for something that couldn't meet you. The part that wonders if the issue wasn't the situation, but something about you. The depth of how you feel. The way you love fully without holding back. Let me say this clearly. That is not your flaw. You didn't make a mistake by feeling deeply. You didn't do anything wrong by wanting something real. Your depth is not the problem. It never was. The only real mistake now would be deciding that your capacity to love is a weakness instead of recognizing it as one of the most powerful things about you. Because it is. The right kind of love isn't intimidated by depth. It's built to meet it. And I want to leave you with this. You are not at the end of something, even if it has felt like that for a while. You're standing at a threshold, a point that only appears after enough of the old has been released to make room for something new. A moment your inner world only opens when you've done the work to be ready for it. Crossing that threshold doesn't happen all at once. It's not loud or dramatic. It shows up quietly, in a morning that feels just a little different, in a small decision that carries more weight than it seems, in a moment where something inside you finally lets go. And then another moment, another step, until one day, without realizing exactly when it happened, you look back and see that you've already moved forward, that the place you once felt stuck in is behind you. And what felt like waiting was actually everything coming together. You are closer than you think. This message reached you for a reason. Stay with it. Stay with yourself. What's next is already unfolding, and it already knows you. If this connected with you in a real way, I'd genuinely like to hear about it. Share what stood out to you and where you are right now. And if you want to go deeper, join our free Patreon community. It's a space where we explore things like this more honestly and more fully. You'll find the link in the pinned comment. I'll see you there. You are not at the end of your story. You are standing at the edge of a new beginning, even if it doesn't feel that way yet. Everything that has felt slow, confusing, or uncertain has been shaping you, preparing you, refining you into someone stronger, clearer, and more aligned with what is truly meant for you. Nothing you've done has been wasted. Every quiet choice, every moment you chose yourself, every time you kept going when it felt hard, those moments have been building something real beneath the surface. You don't need to wait for anyone else to catch up to your journey. Your path is yours and your growth deserves your full attention. The more you step into your own truth, the more you open the door for the kind of love and life that truly matches you. What feels like waiting is actually progress. What feels like pressure is transformation. And what feels uncertain right now is often the space where something meaningful is about to take form. Trust where you are. Trust what you've become. And most importantly, trust that what's meant for you is already finding its way to you. You are closer than you think. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe to Inner Shadow, and hit the bell icon so you never miss what's meant to find you. And if you felt this on a deeper level, comment the word becoming below. I'll know you're part of this journey.